Hi, Shefik. Thank you so much for joining Outside the Box.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
If you want to tell viewers where you are connecting from.
Well, I'm based in New York City area, so I'm in my home, quarantine style.
Yep. I actually grew up in New York City. I think I might have told you, East 86th Street. And I can't even imagine what it must be like there right now.
Yeah, I mean, there are difficulties. I'm actually in Yonkers, which is in Westchester County, right outside of New York City itself.
Okay.
We do have our difficulties here. Actually, our mayor, Mayor Mike Spano, he actually tested positive for antibodies.
Oh,
So apparently he might have had it,
okay.
coronavirus, but he may not have had symptoms. But
Yeah.
actually, people in his office were actively having symptoms and were infected.
Mm. It's the strangest thing. You can walk around, have no symptoms, but have it.
Right, exactly. It's difficult.
Unbelievable.
Mhm,
So if you could tell us, because I know a little bit about you, but if you could tell
mhm.
the viewers a little bit about what you do, that would be great.
Yeah, so I do a couple things. So first and foremost, I work at NBC Universal. I'm a technical lead for their business development division. Primarily, I work for NBC Sports, and I'm leading projects that are coming for the Summer Olympics, which was supposed to be this year, 2020 in
Right.
Tokyo, but it got postponed until next year, July of next year, 2021. But it's still going to be held in Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, good. Good.
Mhm.
How have you been impacted by this? Obviously, you're in your apartment or your house a lot.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something. Well, first of all, me working in technology, I'm used to sort of working at home sometimes and being isolated and being focused on the computer.
Sure.
So I don't really have the type of job where I'm consumer facing or client facing in that regard, where I'm used to being in front of people at a store or something like that. So
Okay.
for me, when I'm on a computer, I can sit at 8-10 hours a day just at the computer by myself, so I can stay focused and not be bored, because it's
Yes.
sort of my job to begin with to
Mhm.
just to be staying in one foot.
Right.
So I'm used to it in a sense, but at the same time, when it gets time to the weekends or maybe the evenings where I have activities, I want to do social engagements and go out. It's very trying times for that.
Right. What advice would you give people that are out of work right now? Because millions of people are out of work.
Yeah. I mean, definitely take care of your mental health,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of people out there who might be feeling depressed. They might have social anxiety. They may feel unwanted or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And reach out to your friends and colleagues, even though people at home, we're doing Zoom right now where, we're connecting video. Do that with your friends regularly and just engage with people in that manner. And outside of that, also find time for yourself, because this is also a good time for reflection, to find out the things you might have been missing in life before, things that you might have thought, I don't have time to do. Well, now you have the time,
You bet.
So what is the excuse now?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think we had talked about this. You were on my radio show, but I'm a firm believer in self-care, especially right now, and taking care of your physical, mental, emotional, and if you're spiritual, taking care of your spiritual health,
Yes.
because it really impacts us in so many ways. And then how much sleep you get, because there's so much anxiety. And then for somebody who's lost their job, who doesn't understand how to work remotely, or, maybe they have to pivot, maybe they have to switch gears into something else. Do you
Mhm.
have some thoughts into somebody that, they're out of a job and they're thinking, maybe this is the time that I pivot, that I get into something new?
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is that people, um, especially media professionals and primarily like freelancers, they may have been photographers or, various video production people, music people, have gotten together online and doing networking sessions,
Yeah.
just to help empower each other, not knowing what the particular agenda in the meeting, is just saying, let's get together to maybe pool resources, because maybe one person has a different contact that could help the other at this trying time. So it's just a matter of things like that. So I've actually participated in some of those just to see if I'm able to lend my assistance to help them. Maybe I have some contacts to refer them to in media and things like that. So it's been useful, and literally it's been touching too, and very humbling, because some of the people I'm talking to are strangers. I've just happened to meet them online for the first time,
It's great.
and they're all coming together and they're sharing their stories. I've had some people cry on camera, and these are perfect strangers, but it's a common experience we're all going to.
Yes.
So just to have that event online show that they care, like other people care about their needs. That helped tremendously, for that. So if people could do that.
We definitely need compassion. We need empathy. We need so much kindness right now, because you don't know somebody's backstory, what somebody's going through. Perhaps somebody's lost somebody. Perhaps they have a family member in the hospital, or somebody's sick. Mm-hmm. I definitely think we're social beings. We need that connection. So being able to talk to somebody, even if it's a total stranger. I mean, I reached out to you because you and your team won the MIT contest, which was amazing. And you didn't know your team, correct?
No, I didn't know my team. And, there were 7 of us, so it was MIT COVID challenge. And we focused on Africa. This was the, first weekend in May. And 7 of us got together from 7 different countries, not knowing each other. And we just clicked, came together entire weekend, built a prototype for the project, and we ended up winning. So we got attention of MIT plus their partners. So now we moved on to the next stage with discussions with the mentors and things like that. And we're looking to bring the product to the public. So this will be a real product coming out in summer.
That is great. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed talking to you and Lisa. I know we had connected on WhatsApp, and we got it going, and such a meaningful project. And people can be doing meaningful things right now.
Yeah.
Do you have some thoughts on that? Things people can get involved in? I know I talked to somebody earlier about taking classes and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, as far as MIT, they're actually having another one at the end of this. So for people that are interested, they could just go to the MIT.edu website, and their information might be there for them to sign up. There is a deadline coming up next week or so. But, the last one, they had like 1,500, 1,500 participants.
Okay.
No,
participants.
4,500 applicants. Yeah, 4,500 applicants, but only 1,500 got accepted. And that was the 3rd time around that I participated in it. So this is the 4th one coming up end of this year, end of this month. And it's interesting, if people want to help out again, that's one way to find out, to actually pool resources again. Maybe there's someone in healthcare you want to network with. There's a pool of resources there. That's definitely one way. Another way is sort of going back to what I was saying before, connecting with your friends, things like that. You could have like online parties. You could have that sort of engagement. There's a lot of DJs online playing their music, especially Instagram Live. They're doing that nightly. There's a lot of Broadway stars that I know of that are actually performing live in their homes, because especially here in New York, Broadway is not going to be open until maybe September of this year, 2020. So it's going to be a long time for them. And, if you're an actor or singer, it's in your blood to want to perform. So, and you have to still, practice your craft, in front of people.
Sure. Why not practice it with the world right now?
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I'm going to be partnering with an organization out of Missouri, and we're planning to do a competition, competition, and then a fundraiser for comedy. So we're going to invite comedians to come on board, and we're going to live stream it, and then we're going to help raise funds for charities that the organization's in, and to support them. So we're planning that. We don't have the exact date yet, but it will be coming in summer. So I'll let you know when it comes.
Oh, good.
It will definitely be this summer. We're hashing out the details, but it's definitely coming, and we're going to support charity, bring laughter to people, and have fun.
I love it. I like how you do a lot of different things. There's another thing you do, probably several things you do. Is it Invocation?
Yes, Invocation.
Tell me about that.
So the show is called Shefik Presents Invocation. And first and foremost, it is a radio show. I'm broadcast on 23 stations around the country. They're all terrestrial AM/FM stations. And the premise is that every episode will focus on one topic. Based on that one topic, the guest speaks on something meaningful in their life. It could be a mantra, it could be their personal experience, It could be something negative, whatever thought they have. It's up to them to decide what it is. Whatever story they tell me, I match it with a song. So it's a music-based show. And when you listen to the full hour episode, you get various perspectives from people from all ages, all occupations, all backgrounds, and you really define the topic and what it means. So it is a radio show, like I said, but I actually shoot all the interview segments on video. So it's a multimedia experience. So it's not just radio, but video, and then interactive, platform that way.
Where can people see that?
Well, they can go to the website. Invocation.co is the main show's website. But I'm actually in various locations, such as I'm in 20 states in the United States, actual physical retail locations. I know people can't go to those locations right now, but some of them can. I'm actually in doctor's offices, some of the waiting rooms in doctor's offices. I'm in a few Dunkin' Donuts locations. Here in the Connecticut area, I'm in Webster's Arena, which is like a 10,000 seat arena, all the concession stands, things like that. Outside of that, I'm on Roku. I'm on Amazon Prime in multiple countries, Amazon Fire TV. I'm on the Viewed platform, so it's all over. And
that's incredible.
Social media. Yeah.
That could be very inspiring to people watching this right now, because especially somebody who's thinking, maybe I'll do a podcast or maybe I'll do something else. How did you decide to start that?
Well, I started it in 2016. That was the first year. And the first date of the first broadcast was July 4th, 2016, intentionally Independence Day. Great. So it's not only a statement for others, but it's a statement for myself. And the first topic that I chose, the first episode, was revolution. That was the topic.
Oh, I like that.
And then ever since then, every year on the July 4th week, I have a revolution topic. So even though I may do one topic, I may do a part 2, part 3, and so on. So for 3 consecutive years, I did revolution as a topic. So it's finding various ways to define the topic, to expand upon it, bring different guests, that sort of thing. But how I really started was I have a lot of music personally. I started in the music business myself, so I had a lot of CDs, even cassette tapes back in the day. Even though 8-track,
Wow.
But I had, thousands of songs. I needed a way to organize it. So for me, I already had playlists. Things I already categorized the songs to invoke, moods in myself.
Yes, emotions.
So I figured, if I figured I'm going to waste time, categorizing my music, I might as well have a purpose for it. So that's how I evolved to have like a topical show. So I realized I could choose a topic on love. Maybe I want to feel that emotion, something about happiness. I even have range on topic, all sorts of things, mathematics.
Great.
So once I started doing that, then I figured, instead of me just categorizing the music, let me actually reach out to the people that form the songs. Because again, my background is in music business. So I started as a music publicist in the early 90s, and I worked with people like Dionne Warwick and Melba Moore, Isley Brothers, people like that were clients that I worked with directly. So they actually end up being some of the first guests on my show. So I reached out to them,
love it.
And they were all supportive. And it was very impactful, because then it brings more meaning to the songs, because they talk about the background of it based on the topic. They add some more their personal history, things like that. And the show's not just celebrity driven. It's about the topic itself. So I have all sorts of occupations on there from all sorts of people. So I have doctors on there, politicians, I have children on there, Broadway stars, all types of people. And it's very interesting how it all comes together, because when I tape the segments, I don't tell anybody the songs I'm going to play in the episode.
Oh, you don't?
So the entire show is pre-taped, so even though it's pre-taped, they don't know what's going to be in the full episode until it actually broadcasts, on the radio. So I don't want the lyrics of the song to influence what they're going to say.
Makes
so that's
a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I want them to be, honest and organic when they say it. Obviously, if it's an artist who performed the song, they'll know I'm going to play that song. But generally, they don't know. They also don't know the other guests in the same episode. So that's intentional too, because I don't want them to be intimidated by someone else. because
Very
maybe they
smart.
feel someone's a better speaker or someone
Hmm.
has a better story. So no one ever knows, you know. And the majority of the time, I don't even know what they're going to say. So I do minimal pre-interviews with them. You know, I send them a list of topics and I let them choose the topics, but then it's up to them to really bring that honest discussion out.
So,
So,
so pretty
I'm
much
sorry.
it's very organic, which is what I
Yeah.
like. Very
Yeah.
organic.
Uh-huh.
Nobody has to prepare anything. It's just sitting down and having a conversation.
Yeah, I don't want to say no one prepares nothing,
Well,
because the thing is, sometimes they do prepare, because sometimes I get people who are very nervous about speaking on camera. Sometimes
that's
they
true.
never spoke on camera.
Yeah.
But what I do is I never allow them to speak from a teleprompter. I never allow them to read from anything. And it's always done in a single take.
Oh,
So
it
when I
is.
do yeah, yeah.
What if they
So
want to
when
do
I
it
do an
over?
interview, that if they make a mistake,
Yeah.
I allow them to redo that take. But what I'm saying is what you see in the video and what's broadcast on the radio is a single continuous take.
Got it.
So I don't edit what they're saying. I never edit their dialogue. I never piece something together. It's one continuous thing. At a maximum, if we have to redo takes, it's maybe 2 or 3 times we redo something. But past that, we let it go or move on to a different topic, something meaningful. But
That's good
because
because
then
it
it
would
starts
be
to get in
very
their
time
head.
consuming if you didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's great. What
Mhm.
skill sets do you think people need to start something on their own right now?
Um, well, first of all, they need patience. I think that is a skill among itself, because
Hmm.
especially when you're dealing with something, you're staying at home a lot, people may not be used to that. You have people who may be on the go all the time and they're not used to staying at home, and so that's a skill to have patience. You need to have the ability to interact with people, because maybe that's not a skill, because maybe again people are on the go, they're rediscovering their family lives in ways that they may not have realized before, their children, their spouses, significant others, people like that. But outside of that, they really need to have ways to be self-sufficient in a way where they can motivate themselves. Because that's really the key right now. You have to find a way that's true and honest to yourself. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier about, finding ways to really enhance yourself, finding ways to really fall in and become yourself.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity to really discover that. And I think that's really paramount and important, because there's a lot of people that are going through possibly career changes. They lost their jobs. It's forced upon them. They maybe end up doing things now that they didn't plan on doing in their career. So you have to learn to adapt to that and maybe bounce back. But I've shifted some career changes in my life too.
Of course.
Primarily I still work in entertainment and things like that and media. But my original thing, I was going to be a doctor.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So I started off my first year in college. I was planning to be a doctor, and
What
also
happened?
my first year. Well, I mean, what happened was my first year in college, I was also in the military.
Oh,
So I served in the military for 8 years in the Army Reserve. So that first year, I was supposed to be transferred to a medical hospital to start my training in Iowa. I went to school in Illinois for the first year, so I had
mhm.
to go to my base in Iowa. But there was no hospital there. So I was misinformed by my recruiter when I
Oh,
signed up, which is not good, because
no.
when you sign up for the Army, you take a test. Based on your score, you get to choose your profession in the Army. So I scored relatively high, which meant I would have qualified for something medical, but there was no medical there. So what ended up happening was all they had was an Arctic unit in infantry,
What
which
was it
means
called?
that
A what unit?
Arctic, an
Arctic.
Arctic,
Okay.
like a cold weather.
Like
So
Antarctic.
yeah, exactly. So if we ever went to war, I would be trained to fight in the snow. In the infantry, first line to die in the trenches. That's my qualification. So I have medals for that. That I've certified in grenades and
Oh my
rifles
goodness.
and rifles a lot. So, but that was the experience, because I wasn't prepared for that for the infantry. I was going to medical, so that
Mhm.
kind of tainted my experience for that. But then overall, I decided I'm not going to just pursue the doctor or medical side, because I always had an interest in entertainment or doing something in that sort of media field, and I was already doing both.
Oh, you
So I
were.
figured, I was already doing both on the side anyway. So I
Mm-hmm.
figured, why continue to not be true to myself? Let me, roll the dice in a way. Media and entertainment is hard to get into.
Yeah.
So I was just being true to myself, because if I'm not going to work in a profession that I'm happy at, then there's no point in really
That's
doing it in
good.
that regard. Some people don't really have a choice kind of thing, but I was fortunate enough where I've had my ups and downs. So it wasn't all easy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like I stayed true to that focus and drive. And if people stay true to their own focus and drive, then a lot can be accomplished from that.
Yeah, because sometimes it's easy for some people to get swayed by someone saying, "What are you doing this side gig for? What are you doing that for? It makes no sense." You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not everything you have to be paid for. That's the thing too, because
Yeah.
there's always a debate where people say, "Oh well, you have to pay me because I know what I'm doing. It took me all these years to learn the craft, so you have to pay me for the time that I took to learn it or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
But my feeling is yes, but at the same time, are you fulfilled in that? Everyone needs to pay bills and things like that, but at the same time, it's okay to help out people. So with me, what I do is I do a lot of stuff for free for people too. I help them out, but also have some charity involved with it. So it's not just about me just for the sake of doing something for free.
That's great.
It's for a purpose. As I mentioned with the comedy show, that's why it has like charity involved in it and things like
That's
that. So,
wonderful. Especially right now,
yeah.
because we need people to really do a lot of acts of kindness for anybody,
Yes.
whether it's your family, relatives, neighbors, whoever, because everybody's going through different things. I
Yeah.
think what's interesting about everything you're saying is that people need to deal with ambiguity in life, because you don't know what's going to be thrown your way, especially
Yeah.
right now. And I'm sure there are people that perhaps lost their job. They might be saying, "Wow, this is the best thing ever."
Yeah.
There are some
Uh-huh.
people saying that because
Uh-huh.
now's the chance to do something else,
Right.
you know? And I think you
Exactly.
have to also, and I have a feeling you're like this, think you have to treat this moment in time with a routine, with some kind of schedule, because if you're on this schedule of, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make calls, I'm going to network, it'll start to feel like you're getting somewhere, you're doing something, you're meeting people.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Uh-huh.
Where do you think is a good place right now for people to network online? We talked about LinkedIn. Any other places that you think?
Well, I think LinkedIn is definitely a good resource. Another one might be IMDb,
Oh.
which is owned by Amazon. It has a
Mhm.
listing of all the TV shows, films, things like that. People may not know they have a pro version too. So there is a cost. It's a minimal cost. Even LinkedIn has a cost, if you want to do premium services.
Right.
But what happens is it's similar there where you could actually reach those people. The people who are actually making the films, making the TV shows, those sort of media assets, there's connections there. You can reach the companies, things like that. Another way definitely is to just post things online. Start a blog, start something where you could have your voice out there, because that's what really it takes now. There's a lot of people that are out of work, but now you have to, show that you have a voice that's relevant in today's society.
Yes, definitely. Where
Uh-huh.
can people find out more about you?
So once again, you could go to my website, invocation.co. That's the
Mhm.
show's website for my radio show. I also have my portfolio site, which is shefik.info, SHEFIK.info. So you can reach me there. And I'm online on Facebook and Twitter with the same names, and also LinkedIn.
Any last bit of advice you'd give people right now watching?
Well, I usually say in my show, the journey continues right here and everywhere. It's about that continuous evolution of self, never giving up, finding prosperity in life and a peace of mind. So just continue that.
I love that. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.